recording now, so type your names in our chat box for attendance purposes. Okay. So I just set up my TV so I can watch you. Okay. One more screen. So, do you see my screen already? You have a copy of your syllabus, so this is there in your syllabus. And just a quick survey, no, quick overview of what's in store for you. You won't start your first story until the third week of this second half. So what week is it? Is it now in BJ terms? Is it week 10? Are we on week 10? Okay, so week 11, Tuesday, is when you will all deliver your first story. Thank you, noted Michelle. So this whole part 2 is all storytelling. Different kinds of stories. And this time, all our stories will be based on the Bible or anything related to that. Missionary story, stories about the writers of the hymn, and your own salvation story. All right? Even the truth illustration story is a story maybe not lifted directly from the Bible, but still communicates a truth that we want the listeners to remember or to have an impact in their lives, no? So this is more informal. It's not like the part 1 where your speeches are all formal, no? But a lot of the mechanics would still be the same. There is just this one thing called the dramatic V, and I'll tell you what it is if you're not familiar with it yet. Now we will talk about it. JD, still you can't hear me clearly even. Oh, I think we lost them. Okay. Hopefully they can him and Steph can hear me now. But anyway, so as I was saying, no, most of the same mechanics are still going to be applied, no? Emphasis in your speaking, variation in tone, variation in volume, variation in speed, yeah, facial expressions, gestures, animation, right? Poise, some sort of eye contact, yeah, rapport with your audience, understanding your audience, speaking to them, no, making them involved in the story. Well, not involved, but making them feel like they are there when the events unfolded as much as possible. No? touching upon their imagination so that they will hear the sounds. They will taste the food if you're talking about your favorite food. Well, of course, you're not going to be doing that, right? Because as I said, all right, noted again, Michelle. As I said, no, the topics for your stories are more spiritual, okay? And this should help all of us, no, because in our various ministries, we would be either giving our testimony, no, or we may be giving a short devotional, and the devotional could be a story, that a story, a true story, or it could be a made up story, but the truth is not made up. Yeah. And then you will deliver two types of Bible stories. So specific stories from the Bible, one with visual aids. Okay. And another without visual aids. Another difference here for the second part is, as you can see, no, there are different age ranges. So you will craft your storytelling. You will adapt the way that you tell the story depending on the age level. Okay? So to children, so maybe grades 4 and above, well, not above, grade 4 and grades 4 to 6. Young children, kindergarten, prep. I don't know which comes first, kindergarten or prep. Okay. And then there's nursery. Which comes first, nursery or prep? Whatever. The first time that the earliest age that children go to school, that's what we mean when we talk about to young children, up to grade 2, grade 3. So different age ranges. Your missionary story, oh, actually, this is a typo. This should be to adults, not the missionary story. But we'll talk about the specific rules for these stories before you actually deliver them. So you're only going to deliver six stories. All your storytelling, Lord willing, if there are no class interruptions, I don't think there are any holidays coming up. I'm not sure. I didn't check. No? But of course, we will adjust if there are holidays and if there are makeup days, right? What else did I want to highlight? So every Friday, this is what you will miss, no? Those who can't come to class on Fridays. You will miss all the fun because we will be just for practice, no? We will have storytelling exercises, right? Different kinds of exercises. Oh, all right. So you are all in our Google Classroom, right? This version of the syllabus, I think just this page would be different, but the content would be the same, no? Because this class has gone through several different formats. several years ago, this was 3 times a week, and then the speech class became 2 times a week. So just the scheduling is different, but the content should be the same as your syllabus. Okay, your hard copies, the content should be the same. So you can get this version, the electronic copy version, in our Google Classroom. Okay, JD? Just thumbs up if you can. Yeah? Or thumbs up in Zoom if you could hear me. But, so don't worry about the difference, seemingly difference in your syllabus and mine. The content will be the same. All right. So, verse quiz. The only verse quiz for this part, for this second part, and you will write that already, no? 2 verses on Friday. Those of you who can come on Friday, I'll just open the verse quiz post in Google Classroom 10 minutes before our class, or I'll make it 20 minutes before our class. So 20 minutes before 11 o'clock on Friday. So you can write your verse quiz then, before 11 o'clock. Is that okay? Philip, Raya, and Hannah? No, you don't have class at 10 to 12 on Friday?
I have a class book.
Okay. And of course, we want you to have your break, no? So, how about after? When is your next class? After 12? Because I want you to be able to have your lunch. 3 o'clock, Pipoy? No, okay. So, you choose when you will take your verse quiz, no? 20 minutes before our class, or right after. So 12, between 12 to 12:30 on Friday. Does that work?
12 to 12:30 na lang po.
Yep. So, Raya, Philip, and Hannah. And then, those of you who can come to class, so that we don't, thank you, Hannah, so that we don't take time from our storytelling exercises on Friday, you may take your verse quiz during that window also. So before you come to class, or right after our class until 12:30. Okay? Everybody, yes. All right. So two verses, Ephesians 4:29 and 2 Corinthians 3:12. I will, so right now there's no form yet for our verse quiz, but it's going to be something like this also. Okay? And let me just quickly make sure I typed the right, oops. Because I think last time I got mixed up and I asked them to redo the same verses. So, okay. All right. So, before we start with content, what else should I tell you? So you have your final exam again, but only covering this bit, no? Storytelling topic. Cumulative exam. No other quizzes except for the verse quiz. And then cumulative exam. And then, these are your criteria, no? Again, content is very important. When we say content, we're not just talking about your topic, but choice of topic is very important. From last time, no, we emphasized several in several speech types of speeches, the fact that you as a speaker should be convinced about your topic, or you yourself should like the topic that you will be talking about. Yeah. So that's very important. No, the topic that you choose, you have the power to do that. Take advantage of it. Yeah. So selection and content, but it's not just the topic, but also how you organize your thoughts, no? The types of details that you included in your story, things like that. And definitely, if the content is appropriate for the age level. Yeah, for each designated story. And then the flow of your story. Okay. Did you keep your audience interested? Can we all, except for Philip and JD, no? Can we all together unmute yourselves and never mind the chaos it will cause. But let us recite our slogan or our motto. That motto or that slogan is still very much applicable even for storytelling. So Philip and JD, just listen, and then I'll point you to the right page later on. Okay. Ready? Unmute yourselves, except for JD and Philip. And I don't have it memorized word for word, but very close. Vince, Denry, when I say begin, the statement starts with the effective speaker, right? Okay. Ready? Begin. The effective speaker realizes the goal of speaking is to
Communication
Speaking
of
communicate
ideas
ideas
in order to
order
get
to
a
get a
desired
desired
response.
order to get a desired response. Thank you. You can mute yourselves again. So the effective speaker realizes that the goal of speaking is to communicate ideas and feelings, not just ideas, but also feelings or emotions, in order to get the desired response. Okay? So really, for each and every story that you will be telling, you should think about what your desired response is from your audience. And that's what you should target. Everything, your preparation, your gestures, the content should all point you towards getting your desired response. If you want your listeners to be happy at the end of the story, then that's your target. If you want your listeners to praise God because of the truth that you imparted to them, that should be your goal, right? When you're telling a Bible story, if you want the children to learn to obey their parents, then that should be your desired goal, is for them to say, oh yes, I haven't obeyed my mom yet. I mean, I haven't obeyed my mom as I should. Yes, teacher, I will. Or, yeah. Okay? Poise. Again, in this environment where you don't have live people, breathing people in front of you, no? It's easier to not think about the way that you stand, because we may not see you, the whole you, no? Easier to forget that you have to communicate not just through words, but also through your your expressions, no? It's easier to be tempted to have your story in front of you because your audience can't see anyway. Yeah. So, I don't know. For those who've done your speeches for the first part, every time you were called to deliver your speech, did you still have butterflies in your stomach? Did you still get nervous?
Yes po, most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if, do you think you will be more nervous if you had your classmates right in front of you? Yeah. Because I think if you're just speaking to the camera, it's easier to forget that there are people watching. Because they're not really there. And you're not supposed to have your Zoom in gallery view, right? You're supposed to have it on speaker view. So you're only really seeing yourself. No? So this is a bit different. But just keep in mind, you have an audience. You have a live audience. You may not be able to necessarily see their expressions. And their expressions would be a good cue, right? If you see someone already falling asleep, that's a big clue that you should do something, right? So you just try to still imagine, put yourselves in the place of your audience. And then voice and variety, no? Again, I emphasize this a lot in your previous speeches. Different ways to make your speech alive. Pauses, length of your pauses, when to put your pauses, And then, like I said, no, up, down, moods. But this is the new thing, no, the dramatic V. I did not make all these materials, no, so I did not invent this. I don't know, I did not do research, I'm sorry, on the term dramatic V, no. I will do so after, and maybe I'll tell you about it on Friday, who coined the term dramatic V. But this is there. It's been there in our speech syllabus since before I became the speech teacher. Okay? So what is the dramatic V? When you're telling a story, there are 5 key elements, and I'll talk more about that later, no? But one of the 5 key elements of a story would be there are distinct characters. Okay, in your story, wouldn't it be boring if the story is just one person the whole time? It's just one person in the story. Unless it's the movie Castaway by Tom Hanks. No? I don't know if you know that, but that movie, the whole, maybe 2 hours, it's just him. The whole movie. No other characters. I don't know if at the end. No, because he was supposed to be not trapped, but he was on a shipwreck and he was able to go to an island. There's no other person there. And for 2 hours, just one person. Well, I guess he could pull it off because he's a good actor, and the script writer did a good job because people watched it and they did not get bored. But most of the time, no, if you're telling a story, it's just there are no characters, just one person. Wilson is the coconut. And he drew a face there, if I'm remembering correctly. No? All right. So the point is, stories have characters. Different characters. That's what makes story, or one of the things that makes stories interesting. No? So, when you're telling a story with different characters, you are going to employ the dramatic V. You don't have to be very good voice actors, no? But you should try to inject as much as possible variations in how you speak. So when you're talking about a lady speaking in your story, you will try to change your voice a bit. Make yourself speak gentler, sweeter maybe. No? We're not aiming to make you gays. Right? But just enough to convey that, hey, this person who is speaking is a woman or a female. And then for male characters, for the ladies, you have to try to make your voices a bit lower. Yes? And it's not just, I am a lady, and yes, I'm a guy. No? But it's also trying to put different mannerisms. Like if the person is a lady, but an old lady, how different does an old lady speak versus a young lady? How different will be a teenage boy speaking versus a 3 or 4-year-old boy? Yeah? So so dramatic V is when you try to make distinct to show, sorry, try to show distinct characters while you are telling the story. Okay? And another use of the dramatic V is so that you don't have to always say, and he said, I am the man. And she said, what the la 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 la. And he said, okay? You don't have to always say he said, she said. Once you've established that the voice of the lady is like this and the voice of the guy is like this, then every time you shift in your story, you don't have to always say he said, she said. You just deliver the dialogue, and the audience will already know, okay, it's the lady who said this, and it's the guy who said that. Okay? So, in your content, in your storytelling, you have to make sure you have at least 2 characters. Maybe not so much in your salvation story. No, but when you tell the other stories, you try to include details in your story where there are distinct characters. All right? And then, of course, you have to submit your outlines. You have to practice at least 2 times. And you are bound within the time limits given to you. So if you exceed or you fall short of the time limit for each story, you'll get deductions. If you don't pass your outline, you'll get a deduction. If you do not practice more than 2 times, you'll get a deduction. Same as before. And same as before, your stories will be extemporaneous, the way that you deliver it. Meaning, it's practiced, but not memorized. Yeah? So you prepare for it, but you do not memorize it. And I'll show you some, a couple of techniques to help you also prepare for your storytelling. Same policy, if you cannot attend if you cannot deliver your story, tell your story on the day scheduled, you have to tell me beforehand, and your excuse should be valid. If not, you will get an F for that speech, but you still will deliver your speech when you come to class. Okay? Even if you know you're gonna get an F. And I know that you've seen your grades for your speeches, and I give high grades. I barely deduct points, no? So, if you get an F, that's really terrible because you don't even get maybe a B minus. I don't think I've gone that low. I don't know. Okay. Mainly English, your stories should be delivered mainly in English. I might choose one story where you can use Tagalog. Okay, but only one story. For the rest, and I'll tell you which one. I haven't decided yet which story I will allow you to deliver in Tagalog. But the rest of your stories should be delivered in English. Okay? All right. So before we get to the meat of things, let me show you what you will be expected to do. Oh, hang on a minute. I need to share my sound. Share computer sound. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down if you cannot hear. Once the video is played, if you cannot hear anything, show me a thumbs down, okay? So I know.
Our final contestant in storytelling, code 198, performing The Sword and the Stone.
It was a dark night. The mist hung thick over the mountains. But it parted slightly and revealed an old man dressed in a flowing robe.
Hang on a minute. Do you want me to make it a bit slower? Or that rate is okay? Yeah? Yeah? Alrighty. Is it loud enough? Yeah? No? Can you try making, I'll make my volume, it's on 80 now, so I'm making it 95. And then try to adjust your volume also. Yeah? And I will start from when he speaks.
It was a dark night. The mist hung thick over the mountains. But it parted slightly and revealed an old man dressed in a flowing robe and a tall pointed hat, picking his way along the side of the mountain. Two women approached him out of the mist. One held a baby, which she handed to the old man, Merlin. With a flash of light, he was gone. Miles away in the castle of Sir Ector, another flash of light appeared, and Merlin made his entrance into Ector's chambers. He said, "Here, take the child, raise him as your own. Call his name Arthur. I cannot tell you why." Welcome to Medieval Trivia. Question number 1. How would you choose the next best king of England? Letter A, by birth, B, by baptism, C, by conquest, or D, by pulling a hunk of metal out of a chunk of rock? Well, if you guessed D, then sit back and enjoy The Sword and the Stone by Gwen Gross. 16 years had passed. Arthur had grown into a strapping young lad alongside his stepbrother and somewhat spoiled Kay. One day, a servant approached the mansion, very distraught. "King Uther has just died, and there's nobody to replace him. But they're having a tournament in London, and whoever can pull a sword out of a stone will be the next king of England." Now Ector was enthralled. He thought if anyone could be king of England, why not let it be someone from his own family? So he called Arthur and Kay and packed up the family and went to London, the capital city, for the tournament and the joust. The day of the tournament dawned bright and clear, and Kay walked confidently towards his first battle. And then he realized something terrible. "Father! Somebody forgot my sword! I don't have my sword! Who forgot it? Send Arthur back to the inn and get my sword, Father!" "Arthur, run back to the inn and get your brother's sword." So Arthur ran as fast as he could back to the inn. He pounded on the door, but nobody was there. They were all at the tournament. He ran around back. Still no answer. Trudged dejectedly back to where he knew Kay was waiting. But as he passed the great cathedral in the middle of London, he noticed something. The sword was stuck in a stone. Maybe that sword would do for Kay. So he walked up, looked around, and pulled the sword from the stone, and then ran back as fast as he could to where he knew Kay was waiting. However, Sir Ector recognized the sword immediately as Excalibur. "Arthur, where did you get that sword?" I bought it from a rock, Father. There's nobody around. I didn't think it belonged to anybody, and Kay needed a sword. Arthur, take me back to where you got this sword immediately. So they all walked back to the great cathedral in the middle of London, and Arthur pointed, and Hector said, "Put the sword back in the stone." And he did so. "Now pull it out." And he pulled it out. By this time, quite a crowd had gathered, and they gasped as they saw the little boy pull the sword from the stone. "Now let me try." Hector reached forward and pulled. The sword wouldn't come out of the stone. Kay, get over here and try, son. It's stuck in there good, Father. It won't be coming out. Arthur, you pull the sword from the stone. So Arthur walked forward. The eyes of the crowd were upon him. He reached forward and slipped the sword from the stone. The crowd gasped and cheered and hailed the new King of England, Arthur Pendragon.
Okay. So, can you do that? That's what you should be doing, though. Well, maybe not to that extent. No? But you saw the dramatic V, right? Yeah? Did you notice that he never said, Arthur said, his dad said, Hector is his dad. Hector said, no? He just shifted from character to character, and you know that a different person is speaking. So that's your goal. Of course, that's a tournament, no, a real competition. I will not let you vote now. I won't ask you to compete against your classmates. So no voting after each storytelling. You set the bar high so that even if you don't reach it, you still at least get somewhere higher pa. No? I'll also show you other versions. There's this one guy, old man, and he just delivers his stories sitting down. But he's also very dynamic. He also uses the dramatic V. No? So I'll show you that guy maybe after our break. No? I'm just looking at our watch. But that's the goal. No? Was it interesting? Was he interesting? Were there times when not were there times, but did you see the ups and downs of the mood? The variation? There were times when you were, well, I was chuckling a bit. No, because there were humorous times, humorous moments in his story. There was this point when, at least for me, no, I could imagine the crowd gathering and really looking in anticipation before he drew the sword. Okay, so if there are desired responses for various points in the story, I think he did a good job, because we laugh during the funny parts. We were not taking a deep breath. We were holding our breath in those suspenseful moments. No? How do you do that? How do you reach the bar, as Paul says? No, the bar is too high. You have to forget yourself. You have to be consumed by the story. You should not be self-conscious. Na? A lot of times, maybe even when you're practicing, you might think, oh, this is silly. Or I'm acting silly. Na? If you are afraid to look silly, you will you will look even sillier. No? There in theater, well, I heard one person who said, we all understand Tagalog anyway, right? Pangit ang ayaw maging pangit. And the context there is like, if you are an actor and the scene calls for you to cry, and you're so conscious of how you look, and you know that you look ugly when you cry. So you try to cry, but still look pretty while you're crying. That's not going to be effective, no? That's going to be, you look even sillier. But the good actors, they don't mind how they look. No? They are so consumed by the story that the emotions just come out of them. This is not a theater class. Okay? This is not an acting class. So don't worry. But just try to tell the story with animation, full of life. And think about, okay, in this part of the story, people should laugh. In this part of the story, people should feel pity for the character. Okay? And then think about, how do you make that happen? How do you make people laugh? How do you make people feel pity? How do you make people happy? Okay? And that's what we will hopefully try to develop through content and through our storytelling exercises. Okay? So let's take a 10-minute break. It's 4:50 in my watch. So 10-minute break, we come back at 5 p.m. and then we'll continue. So type your names in our chat box for attendance for this second half of our class. And then, so here's another one. This guy, no, is more casual, more natural, I think. And he speaks much slower. And he has a lot of pauses to make the listeners make sure the listeners are understanding what he's saying. So can you see the website? And we'll talk about the website later. So just watch this video first. Again, thumbs up or down if you can hear clearly or not. Oh, hang on a minute. I need to make sure I share with the sound on. Oh, I have. All right.
When Sarah died, Abraham knew that he had to find a wife for his son Isaac. He called his servant in and said, I'm going to send you back to my homeland, and there I want you to find a wife for my son Isaac. Now, make sure that you don't choose any woman from around here. She is to be from my country and from my family. Well, the servant was concerned. He said, what if I find the woman and she's not willing to come here? Possibly I should take Isaac with me back there. Absolutely not. You're not to take Isaac back to that country. God gave me this land, and Isaac is to inherit it. She must come here. The angel of the Lord will go before you, and he will prepare the way. And if the woman is not willing to come back, then you're free from this obligation. So the servant went on that journey back to Abraham's homeland. When he came to the town where his relatives lived, the servant stopped at the well that was just on the outside of town. He prayed, "Oh Lord, lead me to just the right woman for Isaac." And then he had an idea. He said, "Lord, I will know that she's the right woman, that if I ask a drink of water, she will offer to draw water for all 10 camels." Just about then, Rebekah came out of the town. She was beautiful and virtuous. And she wasn't married. Rebekah filled her jar and was ready to leave when the servant said, "Please, may I have a drink of water?" She gave him a drink of water and then offered to draw water for all 10 camels. As she was doing this, the servant prayed and asked that God would confirm that this was the right one. After she was all done, the servant gave her jewelry and then asked her, "What family? Who is your father?" Well, she told him who her father was and who her grandfather was. He asked if there was room for him to stay in their home with all his servants and camels, and she said there was. The servant knew this was the family of Abraham. But then the girl just turned and left. She went back home and told about the man back at the well and what had happened. Well, when Laban saw the jewelry that she was wearing, he rushed back to the well and said, "What are you still doing here? Come, we have made preparation for you back at the house. You may come. There's plenty of room for your servants and your camels. Come." When they got back to the house, they prepared a meal and asked the servant if he would.
Okay, so you get the idea. Is this more attainable? This style of storytelling? Like I said, no, the first one, it is for a competition, a real storytelling competition, where you really exaggerate and you really use a lot of gimmicks. This one is more like this one, yeah, and have your hairs tinged with a lot of gray, no? This one is more casual, feels like you're there, no, in front of him, sitting in front of him and listening to him telling the story. So that's kind of the effect that we want to have anyway, right? When we are telling stories to our, maybe to junior church or to Sunday school kids. But even old kids, meaning even as old as me, are still interested in hearing stories. Are you not interested in hearing stories anymore? You're not as old as me. But are you still interested in hearing stories? Okay. So, something like this, but maybe, of course, you're not going to mimic his style, right? You have your own personalities, you have your own styles, you have your own way of telling stories. So hopefully we will develop your styles through this second half of our fundamentals of speech. This site, no, actually, BJMBC sent me to attend a seminar conducted by this guy in Las Piñas, no, about Bible telling. That's the title of the seminar, Bible telling. And if you want to take a look at this site, this is a good resource also for your ministries, no? Because the stories are already written down. Like here, what he was saying, no? It's already written down. Of course, you should not memorize, but the actual events from the Bible, they wrote it in such a way that it's I guess more appropriate for storytelling, no? Suddenly he had an idea, Lord. So whatever he said, no? There are long ones, there are short ones. So this is what you see when you go bibletelling.org is the name of the site. You're still seeing my screen, right? The site, yeah. And then you can actually download the PDF. It's all the stories of the Bible, like the chosen scenes they've written in story form, so it's for free. They have full length or 90-second versions, short versions, no? Of course, if you want to use these, you have to make sure the content is true and faithful to the Bible, right? But they would have done that as well. But they, meaning the creators of this site, they even encourage you, would even tell you to still check your Bible. Make sure the stories here are faithful to the Bible. No? They have something that you can buy for $7. But this is more if you're really seriously wanting to be a storyteller as a career or something. And then all of these, no, the videos are here. You can click here, view online, all the stories of the Bible, and then you can just navigate. Take me to the stories, and then it has 5 or 6 ba to? Yeah, 6 categories or stages, no? The beginnings, Abraham's family, Moses' people, David's dynasty, Jesus' life, and then Paul's ministry. So it's already categorized. And you have samples of him telling the stories. All right, so this is a good resource. I'm sure you may already have your favorite resources for your church. So I'm not aiming to like sell this site to you. This is just an option. Okay, so I'm skipping this bit where, but this is in your syllabus, so please do still read through this. No, this is what the scripture says about speaking, no, and there are a lot of verses talking about how to speak, why we need to speak, no, how to prepare your heart first, no, or make sure that you the storyteller, the speaker, has the right heart to speak or for speaking, etc. So I'm skipping because this is not a sermon or a preaching, yeah. But if you want to meditate on these words, maybe if you're asked in your various ministries to deliver speeches or tell stories, no? These are Bible verses given to you. How to speak. You have to be truthful in what you say. You have to control your tongue, right? You have to know what you're talking about. You should not be misrepresenting any facts. Yeah? But you should speak boldly, not timidly. There's a statement somewhere here in your syllabus, no? Maybe we'll encounter it later. But, and I think I mentioned it before, no? It is a sin to make your storytelling, especially about the Bible, boring. Okay? It is a sin to make the Bible seem boring. Do you agree with that statement? Why? Or why not, if you disagree? Anyone? You can unmute yourself. I want to hear you. I've missed hearing your voices.
Well, I feel like there are lots of doctrinal tangents that would be fun to go down. But I don't know. I don't know.
Of course, it's not in the 10 Commandments, right? But why is it that important? Why is making the Bible come alive in your storytelling important? To the point that if you make it seem boring, it's already a sin, quote unquote. Anybody? You have a message to impart, right? You're telling stories about the Bible for a reason. And the reason is not just to keep the kids occupied until their parents get them, right? The reason is for them to learn more about God, more about the Savior. If Jesus is not yet their Savior, all the more reason to not make the Bible boring. Because if you make the Bible boring, they will not listen. So what happens to your story? What happens to your message? Nothing. Right? Or, of course, we cannot limit the power of the gospel, right? We cannot limit the way that the Holy Spirit will work in the lives of people. But you lost your chance to be the channel of blessing for them, for the children, for the adults who you will be telling your stories to, or whom you will be telling your stories to. Okay, like I said, this is not a preaching, so I'm moving on. But that's just something that I want to impress upon ourselves. So this is serious, right? What you will be doing is serious. Okay, so let's go through just these bits, and then we will prepare for our storytelling exercise for Friday. So, storytelling is an art, obviously, right? When you look at paintings or sculptures, the very good paintings or sculptures, they evoke some sort of feeling, yeah? Not just an appreciation for the beauty of whatever they're depicting, but they can evoke emotions. So storytelling is like that. I think it's even easier to evoke emotions through storytelling than through art. Okay, except for the masterpieces. I never knew that sculptures can actually move me until we went to the museum. My husband and I went to the museum where the statue of David by Michelangelo was in Florence, in Italy. And then there were other sculptures. First of all, I was surprised because I thought the statue of David, you know what I'm talking about, right? The statue of David. I thought it was small, but it's actually like Goliath already, no? Very tall, very huge. But it's not just the size that evoked emotions for me, but even though it's a stone, the nerves in the arms, no, are visible, and there's already like, seems like there's motion. There's another statue there in that same museum, no, where it's unfinished, but so you can still see the stone, where the original stone, and then there's this bit of the part of the body just seemingly coming out of the stone, no? So in your stories, you want to be able to evoke emotions, or make your stories come alive. Yeah. Aside from it being a way to evoke emotions, no? Storytelling is a valuable tool, teaching tool. A lot of teachers, even our Lord Jesus, no, told parables, told stories as part of his teaching. Yeah, because people of all ages love to hear a good story. Yeah. And here what I kept emphasizing, no, make the story not just the story, but make the truth come to life. Okay. So stories can inspire self-sacrifice, love for others, can inspire service. You never know. Maybe your story about a missionary will be powerful enough, strong enough to convince someone from this class to go to the mission field. Stories can make truths clearer. Stories can make truths more understandable. No? Stories can give people examples to follow. Yeah. Okay, this is what I was saying a while ago, no? The five key elements of a good story. From the first part, or in the first part, I asked you to memorize the motto. For this part, I want you to keep these things in mind. Okay? So, the five key elements of a good story. Yeah? So, a good story must have distinct action. And the action is not just straight, no? There should be a high point for that action. Okay? But this is the key there, no? There should be a distinct action. Next, a good story must have distinct characters. I mentioned this already, no? To make the story more alive, there should be at least 2 characters as part of that story. Yeah. And then there should be dialogue. When you are reading a story, or when you're writing a story, you will always use this, right? Quotation marks. When you're reading stories, it's not all like an essay, all words, paragraph form, but stories have a lot of these, no? Quotes, dialogue. So your stories should have dialogues. It's not a monologue. It's not just you, the person, speaking. No? You make your characters speak in your story. Again, for your salvation testimony, maybe this is not so much, it's not gonna be relevant too much, no? These 5 key elements. But, because I don't know your salvation story. I don't know them yet, but I will get to know them when you tell us about your salvation story. There should be a plot, no? And changes in mood. What do we mean when we talk about plot? Typical plot, the plot of the story is like how the story goes. And the typical plot of a story is like this. No? So you start with your intro, character building, character and setting, right? That's your introduction. And then you talk about conflict. What is the problem? All stories have conflicts. There's always a problem. Okay? And then you have your climax. The war, maybe. Yeah? Or in Filipino telenovelas, not that I watch them, you will always have the sampalan scenes. No? I hate you. Pak. Or whatever. I don't know. Okay? So the problem gets so big that everything explodes. And then you have your resolution. The war ends, or somebody apologizes, and now the mother and the daughter are reconciled. Okay? That's the typical plot of a story. Now, who are the characters? What's the problem? And then what happens? How does the problem get solved? Or how does it explode, no? The problem. And then how does it get resolved? So in your stories, you have to think about this. Some stories, they already change the order. No? Some storytellers, they actually tell the ending first. And then they backtrack and talk about, but how did this happen? We did not used to be like this. And then goes back in time or tells the events that led to this resolution. Or some actually start with the climax, starts with a war first. Everything's so chaotic or everyone's angry at each other or whatever. Okay? And then starts talking about the various characters involved in that conflict. Okay? So some of your stories will just be short. 3 minutes. Okay? But you still have to make sure you have at least these elements of the plot. No? You have to talk about the setting. You have to introduce the characters. You have to make sure the problem is, or the conflict is clear. And then there should be a highlight. And then there should be a resolution. The fifth key element of a good story is and I talked about this earlier also, right? You should like the story that you're telling. If you yourself are bored with the story, it's gonna show. If I don't like teaching, speech in particular, can you imagine how I will teach you? Okay, class. Good storytelling stories must have these characteristics. Distinct action, distinct characters, dialogue, acceptable mood and plot, sincerely liked and thoroughly enjoyed by the storyteller. Okay? Next. These are the things you have to do. La 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 la. Would you like me to be like that? Yes, maybe. Maybe that's your cup of tea. Just give it to me straight. Don't be animated. I don't know. Next. So, 5 things, 5 key elements of a good story. Distinct action, distinct characters, distinct plot, mood with different moods, with changes in moods, dialogue, and it should be liked by you, the storyteller. Okay? All right. So things that you need to do when you're preparing for all of the stories that you will be telling. If you can use stories that are already out there. You don't have to write your own story. Okay? But if you like, that's fine. No? You can write your own story. Or you can use something that's already there. One of your stories will be a hymn story. And I'm sure we already all have heard of the story behind It Is Well With My Soul. Right? And there are a lot of stories already available about that song on the internet. So you can just grab a copy. However, you have to make it your own. Yeah? Meaning, change words that are not familiar to you. Or change words that you don't normally use. As long as the story is, you're still remaining true to the story. Add insights from you. No? Make it more appropriate to the age of your audience. Okay? And you don't have to include everything, all the details, especially if your time is short, no? If the limit given to you for that particular story is short. Maybe everything is interesting to you, all the details there, but you cannot include all the details and stay within the time frame. So you have to have your own personal copy, and then you decide which parts you don't need. Okay? And then you make your own outline. And then plan how you will tell the story. Think about the dialogue. Maybe the story you found on the internet does not have a dialogue. Try to imagine what the characters would be saying if they were speaking, no? Try to put yourself in the place of the characters and then put dialogues. However, if the dialogue, for example, you're talking about a Bible story, no? You're talking about Samson and Delilah, for example. And the Bible, some of their dialogue is written in the Bible, right? For Samson and Delilah. So if the dialogue is written, use that. Okay? Use the dialogue from the Bible. But if the Bible is silent in terms of actual conversation between the characters, you can include dialogue, but you have to qualify. Before you say that, you should say, maybe this is what Moses said. Or if you were Moses, this may be what you will say. Okay, you have to make it clear that this is just from your opinion, the dialogue. Okay? So you should still have the elements of a good story, but you should make sure that you do not veer away from the truths of the Bible. Okay? And then, tell your story in your own words. It should not be memorized. And as I said, no, make it your own. We've seen this tip already before, no? 5 times, practice 7 times. Okay? Record yourselves while you're practicing, and then be your own critic. Watch yourself, laugh at yourself, no. Watch yourself and critique yourself. Say, oh, that did not sound right. Or, oh, maybe this part is where I should be more forceful. No? Ah, I spoke too fast. Okay, critique yourself. And then make sure the emotions, the changes in emotions will show. Okay. So we'll talk about the other content on Friday and Tuesday. But for our speech exercise for next week, this is kind of like a tradition with me, no? We will do a group storytelling of the story of Cinderella. I choose that because I think we all know the story of Cinderella. Really, Jared? Really? Okay. However, we won't get to have Ipoy, Hannah, and Raya with us. So maybe I'll give the 3 of them a short story, maybe also another fairy tale, maybe the 3 Little Pigs, and then they can perform on Tuesday. Okay? Let's not make that a maybe. Let's make it true. So for Tuesday, the 3 of you, no? We've lost Hannah, I think, but you try to contact her na lang. And then for Tuesday, you're going to do a group storytelling of the three little pigs. You know that, what is that, a fable? No, the one who built his house on using straw, and then the other using bricks, and then the other, whatever. Okay. All right. For the rest of us, no? What? Did I offend anybody? All right. For the rest of us, so how many are we? Me included. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Michelle, 7. JD, 8. And Steph, 9, 10. Jonalyn. Oh, there's a lot of us. Okay. Let me see if I still have this. Okay. Why is my oh? Can you see my spreadsheet? The Excel file? Okay, hang on a minute. Because I also saw a message. How many parts? 8 parts. So these are the different parts we've subdivided already for Cinderella. So just the background, I'll post this in our Google Classroom. Okay? And what you need to do is you need to think about how you will deliver the story, just that part of the story. And then when we come to class on Friday, we will try to say the story one after the other based on the part assigned to you. Okay? So, I'll just assign randomly based on the arrangement of the videos. And then Pipoy, Hannah, and Raya, you just talk about who's gonna do which pig. Who's gonna take which pig's part. Okay? Alright, so Jared, and then Paul K. Denry, Abby, Vince. I'll make this a bit smaller, Bob, so you can see. Or you can take. I'll post this in our classroom, but take note also now. Talking in the garden, clock striking 12. Steph. Okay. Michelle. And Jonalyn. Did I miss anybody? JD. And me. Which part is long? Fairy. Oh, you're gonna tell the fairy godmother story, Abby. Okay. I'll divide this because Steph or JD, I'm not sure if you're, oh no. Who else did I miss aside from JD? Jonalyn ba? No. Who else is missing? Because I just want to have a backup in case someone is not available or having a connection problem. So I'll just be Steph's backup. Just the backup, huh? And then JD, maybe you will be Michelle's backup. Okay, so depending on whose connection is good. But, so, if Michelle is okay and she has a good connection, then she'll do the story with us. But JD, we will still want to see your own part. How you would have told. No script. You make your own script. Jared, you make your own script. Okay, this is just a part of a part of the whole story. So did you get your parts? Can I still make this smaller? Is it still readable? Even this small? Yeah. So Jared, you introduce the setting. Okay. And then Paul K, you talk about the ball, the purpose of the ball, and the reluctant prince. And then Denry, actually we can split this in half. Just the no, never mind. No. Because the town crier is just gonna announce to the town, and then immediately the reaction of the stepsisters and the stepmother follows. So sorry, this will be yours. Then Denry. Looking at Denry's face, he looks so troubled already. Then Abby, try to make your bit only 2 minutes long. Each person only 2 minutes long. Yeah. Just but it's not impromptu, because we will have time to prepare, right? But we should make sure that the whole story, when told by all of us individually, still makes sense. No? Vince, the first part of the ball where the prince sees the beautiful Cinderella. Okay. And then Steph or me, the climax, I think this is the climax in the story, no? When the clock strikes 12 and Cinderella needs to run because her how she looks will change, no? She'll go back to being in rags with ash on her face, no, cinder on her face. Okay? And then Michelle Michelle and JD, this is your part. Sad prince thinking about what to do to make sure he finds Cinderella again. And then Jonalyn, the ending. Oh, Jonalyn is not here anymore. Okay, the ending. And they lived happily ever after. Okay? And then we will see live, Raya, Hannah, and Philip. You're not gonna record your Three Little Pigs. You're going to render the story, tell the story on Tuesday. Okay? One after the other. Any questions? Oh, well, the outline is one pig, one person. And then maybe the first pig will do the introduction And then the third pig will do the ending. Okay? So that's your outline. Any other questions? And of course, it will be recorded. No, I'll compromise. I will record it, but in my local computer only. So that it will not be available for anybody, but it will just be available to all of us afterwards, since this is your first trial. So that's it. If you have any questions, just email me or message me. But this will be on Friday. But don't forget, you have your verse quiz on Friday also. I'll post the verse quiz in Google Classroom by Friday. Okay. Thank you. See you in chapel. Bye.